Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to our Wednesday night Bible study. Um, tonight's Bible study, as we look back, as we have transitioned to Romans, the ninth chapter, um, there's been a good opportunity to pass out clay to everybody and have you make clay people. Remember how when you was in kindergarten and first grade, how many of y'all remember the gray clay? It was a gray. Now all the clay now has all different colors to it. We called it clay, but it was the gray. Everybody had gray clay. Now they got fuchsia, they got orange, they got pink, they got purple, they got all kinds of different. And it smells like apples and oranges, and we had clay, gray clay in our arts and crafts, just dull gray, and everything you made was gray. Now you can make a person with red hair and green ears and blue, whatever. It would have been a great opportunity to pass out clay and say, hey, let's make some clay people. You roll it up and you put a little head and you roll it together, make some arms and make a body and make a leg, and you put them with some big old shoes because you had to make the shoes really big so they can stand up, and you had your clay person. Um, when we think about that maturation of making a clay person, and I know uh, Reverend Edison, Reverend Smith, and Reverend Johnson last week has kind of walked us through what was transpiring when Paul gets to this passage. He's laying a foundation from saying, just because we have arrived at a point, he gives us a flashback of who we were to who we are now, and then looking at this next transition is to say we have the audacity to treat God like he owe us something, that he should respond to us because we us. Look at, we arrived. We smarter now. We can create machines that can create machines. We can have machines that can operate on you with flawless techniques. We have cars now that can drive themselves. And soon, if Uber and them have their way, we'll have automobiles flying you to your next destination. The Jetson, I guess say, the Jetson have arrived. Do 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 do. His boy Elroy, his dog too. I forget how the song goes. But we at that point now, and his wife Jane. We at this point because we can have robots in our house that do our cleaning for us. It's called that circle robot. Just let it go, and it just go and clean. I saw people for Christmas. It's on sale. This is $400 for a little machine that everyone's gonna go out and pick up some dirt out your floor. So anyway, I digress. In this passage, when we pick up, I think Reverend Johnson left off at verse 18 or 19. Okay, at first, and I did kind of consume a little 19 for tonight. We had an interesting conversation in class last night about our response to who God is. And we act as if we have done some great things that God should respond to us. That God's, we take for granted his love and mercy, but that he should respond to us. And so if we pick up with verse 19, I know Johnson hit on this, but it's just going to tie. I'm good. I know. Well, I'll just give you credit for last week. I'm just Romans 9:19. Thou wilt say then unto me, why doeth he yet find fault? For who hath resisted his will? How does he find fault, and who hath resisted his will? So we put it in context, questioning, and I can hear people in the world, y'all worshiping this old man in heaven, this bearded old man who's lost track of time, who doesn't know. This is 2019. This God stuff was back in AD 10. We progressive. We don't need him to oversee us because we have everything. We in his will, but do we? And so Paul is asking a rhetorical question because he knows as he asks this, they can't respond to him. So in verse 20, he says, "Now, but, O man, who art thou that replies against God? Shall a thing formed say to him that formed it, why hast thou not? Why hast thou made me thus?" Have we ever done that? Have we ever questioned our very existence? So we can look back at the rhetorical question and say, "Well, Paul, you kind of missed." Then he puts back on the chest. Okay, you might have not done it that way, right. But have you in your own self said against God, "Shall a thing that's formed?" Do we question even why God has placed us in the position that we're in? God, what? Now, if I was making me God, I would have did this. If I had to do it, God, I would have been born to this billionaire daddy and this billionaire mama who lived in California and lived in New York. So I spent half my time in California, half my time in New York. So I get both quote. If I was building this thing for me, Lord, you missed the mark. I know that doesn't sound like something we would do to that extreme. But even to the slightest degree, we question why we go through, why we in the situation that we're in. Can we even, now let's go back to the second. We have not resisted his will, but in the midst of his will, do we actually question what his will is and why is he doing it this way? God, even today, today could have been a little bit better. I could have had this or I could have had that. So aren't we, he says, do we then question or replies against God? And we really don't verbally say it, like we don't see it as replying against God, but every action that says questioning what he does. Now don't get me wrong, God doesn't faint because we question him. God doesn't, but Paul is put in perspective after he says all this stuff in Romans 8 and then Romans 9, seeing what our transition is and seeing all this stuff, that we still have the audacity. Not y'all, I ain't on your bus. I still have the audacity. And Paul says this in verse, if you go back up to verse 7 and 17, Paul says, before you get mad, I'm telling you who I am. I'm not worried of all this. I have these issues, I have these problems. And he comes to it and he says now, do we even question? Do we question him? How does it make you feel when you sit back and look at questioning God? But yeah, yeah. God doesn't stumble at it. But when we reflect back on it, if we had removed all those things that happened to us, would I be the person I am today? Did some of those past hurts me again? All things work together for the good of those who are chosen according to his purpose. So it comes to this point where it says that he's asking what people, and what happens is people take this people have run away from God because of what he's done. And so the idea is that who can reply us against God? Who can say, well, God, you are wrong in how you're doing, so therefore I'm going to stop listening to you. Whether you listen to God or not, guess who's still in control? Do you realize while we were yet sinners, God still saved us? Romans 5 and 8. While we were yet out there, while we wasn't thinking about God, God was still working. So you think because you came to church and you got mad that you're going to turn off God, God going to turn you off? So that's why it doesn't affect him, but it becomes in our mind. Why do we do that? Why do we even struggle with that? And this is what Paul he gets into a deeper thing, because not only he says that, he says this: have not the potter power over the clay. This is what I'm just saying. As much as that clay wants to resist, some clay you gotta, the we used to have this toy. I guess I'm reflecting back on my Jetsons and gray clay and all that. That Armstrong guy, you stretch him all, and as much as you stretch him, it always comes back to where he was. I mean, you can pull it. Now, at some point, if you go too much, you're gonna miss the leg. The elastic can only go so far, but at some point, you just stretch it, and you be like, watch it, you just right back to the earth. And so he says, have not the potter have control of the clay? As we make the clay, can't we automatically start back over? We can roll it back up again and make you all over again. Put you through the same stuff and then recreate you again. But aren't you glad that God can do it? Because we have, as he made us, we have picked up some lumps and some bumps and some bruises. And you be like, God, you really gotta make this over, because with some of the stuff I used to be, I don't think y'all be in this church if I was still having some of those scars I had before. So he says that who has the power? Does the clay have the power, or does the potter have the power? And so as much as we want to resist him, he still works in our favor. As much as we stray, he still allows us to come back. And that's why we look at people. Nobody is ever too far gone for God. They too far gone for us. Because if you said, you get 3 strikes, and really, that first strike, you don't shake it ground from that point on. It ain't no coming back sometime from we say we forgive you, but we never get back to that point. But what if God, the potter, says, I made you once, and that's it? Put you on the shelf, and then we really be mad. God, David says, "What? Did you not hear me, Lord?" If you listen to all the Psalms, the 30 Psalms, those Psalms in there, it's always talking about, why have you forsaken me? God, why are you so far away from me? Why have you done all these things? And I like how the 71 start to realize, God, how good you were. God, you were good all these times. God. So you start reading all the 71. I think 75 says, and all of David's prayers were ended. It was like his last, even that last one, it was something, God, in the end, how good you were. But before you was like, you were so far away because, or God, why have you let my enemies forsaken me, those who are reproach to you? And all that, he started saying, in all that, you have the power. I look at it this way. If we could have the power of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and another one unto dishonor, if we truly had that power to change folk and leave folk lumped up, there'd be a whole lot of folk lumped up in life. Right? Or it's just me. It's just me. Yeah. It'd be a whole lot of folk. Look at friends and family. A whole lot of family folk be lumped up. and they'd be lumped up from, I remember I was 5 years old, and you pinched me, auntie. you pulled my ear. My ear, I still feel it today from 40 years. So you lumped up for 45 years. But it talks about the power of God in our life. And this is a piece that we sometimes forget how we are blessed. And we even sometimes have to reflect how blessed I am compared to what's going on with other people. And sometimes we don't look at it from that standpoint. We got to look at it. Man, I think about people in Jamaica living in these 10 sheds stacked up three high. I mean, literally 10 sheds. And it's pouring down raining, and it's leaking from the top shelf all the way down. Now, they don't show that on when Welcome to Jamaica. You don't see that piece. You see the but on the northeast side of town, where they got, I mean, literally, they are living in these little tin shells that's not fit for a chicken, let alone human beings. I think what's eye-opening is, and it shows you how we don't truly look at how much God has blessed us. We compare ourselves to the top 5% of the world, and if we don't measure up to that or we're falling short of that, we figure that we're not blessed. But we don't look at that. The other 90% who are far less or have far less than what we have, because that's not what we want to see. Yes. And we forget just how much God has blessed us. We right here, we drove the church across town. 90% of people in the world can't do that. And this is why I tell people, even if you live in an apartment, that's a 2-bedroom apartment with 1 bathroom, and you live in an efficiency, that level is still higher than 60% of folk across the world that would give up their left foot and their right thumb to have what you have. But yet and still we question God, why me, God? And I have to continue to even remind myself as we go through stuff and we get this pity party going on. You just passed by 5 homeless people that's gonna go live under the bridge when it was 101 degrees. So I don't care what your background is, you're not there. And because you're not there, God chose you. And this idea of this honor and dishonor says that even through this, God is honoring us. And we end up realize that this is not the end of what we should be. So why does the clay question what the potter is doing? Because he could have just we could be living in Ethiopia, on the north side where there's hardly no water. I think it's the north side, no water, and you got to travel miles to get some dirty water to drink, and the miles back to go live in your little hut. I was looking at somebody. It was like, do whatever they do, you do. They said, we want to go outside. We want to go outside. I came in with country, and they were inside the whole day. They was like, let's go outside. The guy says, you do what they do because they understand how to live in 120-degree weather. Yeah, I want to run outside a little bit and play soccer. You can't do that at 10 o'clock in the morning because it's 120. I came in with, he brought up in the thing, he says, and I was trying to tell them, whatever they do, you do. You want to run outside. You see none of them outside running around. Don't you go outside running around. No, we want to be outside because we American. And you realize a few minutes out in that 120, you realize, oh, that's why they don't go outside. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. No, partner, you really go inside and read your book to them inside. Yeah. So that verse to me speaks about who has the true power. And God is doing exactly what he intended to do in the midst of what we think is a struggle. Oh, poor you. You had to go home and you had to eat pork chops again. And the gravy wasn't as thick as you wanted to be. It was too watery. But it went on your brown rice, and you wanted white rice, but you got brown rice because you're trying to live longer. And you had green beans instead of some pinto beans because you're trying to live better. Poor you. You had to get some Kool-Aid instead of that Dr. Pepper with the cherry flavor in it that will kill your kidney. Poor you. Poor you. Poor. Oh, man. Your wife wanted it at 74 and you wanted it at 72, so you had to live in 74 degrees. You had to put on some shorts today to live in your nice cushioned bed that adjusts to you when it moves. The air comes on and lets out. As poor you. God, you are just not fair. As you got into your brand new truck, your brand new car, and drove past about 100 folk who just happy to be sharing a ride on the bus. Poor, and again, how can we reply to God? That's a deep. I told you I wanted to have the clay tonight, so you have it in your hand and it says, "Can you imagine the Play-Doh clay telling you, I don't want to be a square. I want to be a triangle because they can stand up better than me being a square. Just a square. But the circle over there, who keeps rolling down the dirt hill, wishing they was a square. How did I know this sounds a little attacking, but I think that's what Paul's mindset was. All y'all on y'all high horse because we are Israelites. We can trace our name back to this person, and we have been through some stuff, and God has blessed us, and well, my mama and them and my dad, and God know who I am. Yes, but they don't make you. Put it this way, the same person who walks in the street now at the age of 55, accept Jesus Christ for Lord and Savior, get the same reward as you who've been in church since you were 2. Promise gonna be in church since she was, before she was even born. Now I can actually speak for Promise. Promise been in church before she was even in her mama for 3 weeks. So she can say, I've been in church even though our Promise is 2. Promise can say, I've been in church all my life. And she'll get the same reward as a person who came in at 55 and died at 56. Because God has no respect of person when it comes to... Now we talk about the different levels of heaven. I don't want to get into that. One day we get in Revelation, we can kind of talk about that. But they still, even if I'm at the edge of heaven, guess where I'm in? I'm in heaven. And I ain't in hell with the gnashing of the teeth. We talked that Sunday. There'll be some gnashing, some anguish, So he says, how dare then we can question why God does what he does. So we typically question God when we think that people got more than what they deserve. But we never looked at and see people who got less than what they deserve. We always look at forward and says, why does that person have all of that? And we don't never look back and says, why do I have this? And that person who I know loves the Lord is struggling to be who they are. We never, probably every once in a while we're in church, we get emotional for a second, but the other 6 days of the week, we worried about, Lord, why I only have $400 in the bank? I need to have $900. Why? And folk worrying why they only got 400 cents. Okay, $4 in the bank, so y'all want the deal. It was like, I would switch my 400 cents for your $400 any day. If you're not happy with it, give it to the brother who is. And that's what Paul in his own stressing of who God is in this chapter, he says, how can we question what he does? Let's just not on the physical or the stuff that we absorb. That's even in our spiritual life. Lord, we want to be easy. And so he questioned them in their ability to see what God is doing. So I read 22 for us.
What if God wanted to show his wrath and to make his power known, endured with much long suffering, the vessel of wrath prepared for destruction?
What if God stopped his long suffering? Now, how many of y'all in here have been perfect all day today? How many of y'all been perfect the last 5 hours? How many of y'all been perfect the last, maybe the last 2 minutes? Y'all probably good. That's probably too short for y'all. But when we think about, we think about, and he's drawing this. He says, "But what if God was to show His true wrath?" as much as we complain about what we're going through, how much stuff did God cover on us? He says that He justifies us. He makes us right. So that means we gotta be wrong about some stuff that God keeps on sweeping over. In baseball, they always go and clean out the dirt because they get lumps in the dirt. So you'll see them during innings go and make what was imperfect because man made it imperfect back perfect again. You see, they have all these little lumps in there, and then they come with these little rakes, and all these guys been in between the third inning. You see them running around the bases and clean out. Because why? They try and make the field better as we have messed it up, so that you can have a good playing field, that the obstacles that were there don't deter you from. So see, when baseball is played, the slightest deflection off the dirt would cause the ball to go the other way. That makes you look like you don't know what you're doing. But what God does is clean up all of your mess, so that when you play on the field, it covers up what you messed up. Then that'll preach on Sunday. But since I'm not preaching, I'm just going to teach this. What if God just let your mess be? He don't have to put his wrath. See, if God wanted to destroy the world, it's easy for him because he can destroy it. But what if he just took his hand off of you and let you do what you do without him being there? That's what we're talking about in the end times, when God removes his spirit from here and all hell breaks loose on earth because God's presence is not here, and everybody just goes crazy after the rapture because God's spirit has been removed from this place.
Kind of like the clay. You're not molded the clay, you take your hand away, eventually it dries.
It can't do what it was intended to do, because you just say what happened. You let clay, in that, again, I go back to that old gray clay, it dried up real quick. Yeah. Even because what they used to do was add water to it, keep adding water to mold it. And I'm thinking to myself, that was the worst thing. I look at these kids now, this clay y'all got now, don't need water. Just put it back in this plastic container. But you're right. If you take your hand off of it and he stopped adding to it, so Paul says if he let his wrath, I'm not even going to that point. If he just stopped being who now his wrath says, I'm going to give you everything that you deserve. I have talked about people in my head. I told y'all on last weekend, last Sunday, y'all have killed folk. Y'all got a lot of folk in y'all head that y'all done killed. Y'all are mass murderers by what you said in your head. I ain't gonna point on y'all, but you was, I wish she was dead. maybe you killed that same person over and over again, but you got some marks in your head, like in the Old West they have this notches on their gun, notches on their belt. Your notch can't be preserved because it's so. And if God just did that based upon what we thought, what we did, what we didn't do, or what we were, just think, before we start complaining about what he's doing, he says, with much long suffering, the vessel of wrath is fitted to destruction. I like this piece, how he dresses up this way. He says that the vessel of long suffering, that it is so much long suffering by God, it travels. This is not a stationary event, and it just picks up as it keeps going. That we are fitted for destruction. When I think about this, is that as God is doing his best, I am doing my worst. As God is drawing me near, I continue to stray from him. Not in my past, not in my future, but in my presence. Because as much as I want to be holy, I let the things around me affect me. That in that instant and in that moment, I always say this, have you ever been sleep deprived in how you respond to people? Have you ever been hungry in how you respond to people? Have you ever been full in how you? Don't answer you right now. I just wanted it, girl, boy. Look here, I just ate. You better get. So think about all that God long suffers through. Our whining, our hesitation, our not doing, our think about that it is fitted for destruction. Not that God has done it, just in what God has covered, has positioned us if he wanted to destroy us. But this is what I like about God. And as we get through the later part around of Romans, he constantly forgives us, renews us, and starts us over so that this vessel gets emptied every time we ask for forgiveness. We always tell couples, you have to forgive and at some point let that piece go and move forward. We don't sometimes, we can't empty the glass. We'll pull some out. It's filled up. Well, we'll pour some out. And what happens when you want to pour some out? And then what happens the next day? It's just, instead of you having that just had an extra 3 or 4 ounces to go. No. You start off 3 ounces in the hole already. And so that vessel then is ready, it fills up and ready to be destroyed again. But God, in his grace, as we complain about the potter and how he's handling us as clay, he keeps on emptying it out and adding more water to us so we look fresher each day. That's grace. God's grace is new every day. Why? Because he dumps us out every day. And all we got to do is do this. Watch this. Watch what we got to do. Lord, forgive me for my sins. Help me to overcome those things. And he is faithful to forgive you and cast those things as far as the east is. I know you don't see it on this, but as far as the east to the west. And Paul is saying, if he didn't do it, you will be fitted. Fitted. It's why I like, no matter what you have done, God is willing to forgive it. No matter how many times you have done it, God is willing. I don't care how many people you have physically killed, stole, lied on, cheated. God is willing to forgive you. And know who has a problem with that most of the time? We do. Both for ourselves and other folks. God then forgave us, we still hold on to it. God then forgave them. I know some folk look at me and says, Lord, why you still, I know Mac. That was my name in the military. I know Mac. And how is Mac up there preaching now? I'm quite sure some folk on that's back in North Carolina, Virginia, said, that's that same joker. Every time we went to the club, we're ready to fight somebody. Talking noise like he Billy Tough Guy. And he really ain't, he just Mac. But God does this. And he says, if not, how does that make y'all feel when you know that God empties you out and that what was meant for your destruction in yourself, he starts you over again?
It's amazing because if people are honest and look at themselves and self-analyze what they've done, things they did do that they should have done, and to realize God continues to give you, amazing.
Man, I do you ever reflect back on really how God's been blessing you and how you and your own self have made decisions, done some things to deter that, and God is still there. And I this Torin has this name that God knows you, and he has this amazing love for you that's bulletproof, and he fully knows you. He fully knows you, and he still loves you. He fully knows you. Nobody else. I don't care how long you've been married. Me and Joe have been married for 25 years. I know her about 95%. So it's still 5% of her that she, and it's probably about 10% of me that she knew that she probably said, boy, you crazy. But anyway, we ain't going to talk about that tonight. We'll talk about that some other time. But he fully knows us. He knows how many people we cussed out, laughed about their mistake, say, I'm glad they feel, I'm glad they sick, I'm glad they dying, I'm glad. All the stuff that people don't know, and he knows every. Why she got that on? She just looks stank. Everything you have said, I know. Some of y'all are thinking, was my pastor next? Was he here in my head? Look here. He better be glad he know me in 2019, because if it was 2000, he'd be on the floor with a couple of black eyes. I see myself stomping him. Now, that's just in your mind. Nobody knows, but God fully knows all that. And some of y'all just gave away that some other folk might know you thought the same thing too, but he knows all of that. And he's still. And watch what he does, and we'll end with this verse here. But watch what he does even in the midst of all of that. Look at verse 23. So I read that.
In order to make known the riches of his glory, the vessels of mercy, which he has prepared beforehand for glory.
2 times he used the word glory. But then he uses this idea of this riches of his glory. Now you are a vessel fit for destruction. The opposite of that, he shows how much of his glory is in us. To make known, that means if nobody knows, you should know. If nobody sees, you should see. So this is my interpretation. Now y'all run with this. So before I utter a word of complaint, I already know where I'm starting from. That because I know me, and I know all the stuff that y'all don't know, that God, I know you blessing me, and I know I'm not worthy of this. So how can I utter a word in reproach of you when I know that he might make known? That's why folks should come to church and just act a fool. Not act a fool because you're foolish, but act a fool because God has been so great. I don't have to wait to be prompt and primed to raise up. And then lately I've been kind of being cool because I got to preach, because sometimes I get out of breath just praising God so long. Now I got to preach. So I've been trying to be, business. I got to keep preaching. So I can't just praise and be like, okay, the Lord said, whew, y'all got to let your pastor get a breath. But in reality, it's just because I know through even this mess, I'm not even worthy for you to come and snatch me out of my circumstance. But you do it. Why? So it might be known it's not anything that I have. It's to his glory that's already been prepared for those who will follow after him. My wife reminded me of something. Baby, don't you always say on the other side? The other side of the issue? You can't get so sucked up into this that you don't know it's the other side. Yeah. You can't get so caught into complaining to God that it's not another side. Now, we might not get to the other side here, but on the other, heaven is real. His glory is real. Those things are real. So you got to know. Now, let me tell you something. That's the hardest thing to do. Because as you're going through the storm, it's hard to see. I have this thing, and Joyce knows that when we go through a storm, I don't slow down. I'm trying to get to the other side. And you know what happens right before you get to the other side? It's the worst part of the storm. The backside of the storm. You go through, and it's the hardest rain. And just say, baby, slow down. No, baby, we almost out. But it's coming down hard. And people pull on the side, and a amount of miles, we out. See, I told you, baby, we got to the other side. Now I do that with the rain physically, but it's hard to do that when you actually going through it spiritually, emotionally, because sometimes the hardest part of the rain is right before you get, because it wants you to stop. It wants you to stop. But our mind tells us, I want to stop. This is too much. It's too much. So I'm not telling you something, oh, this is easy. No, church folk make it big. Oh, baby, just, nuh-uh. They can give you the advice, but when they going through, they crying like that, you crying. So don't think pastor got this magic pillow or this magic porch that I got to go through some stuff. And I be like, man, y'all pray for me because this ain't easy. I try to be strong for joy, but then she knows, baby, it's going to be, no, but I know you say, I know, don't, the church be, I know, but let me just, so he says, to be known, which he had afore prepared unto glory. So he already knows the end, so stop complaining to you because he'll never put more on you. See how scripture come back and talk to you? I used to, folk you all say when I was growing up, but then you start realizing what he's saying here is that he's already glorified you in this mess. You just got to have patience enough to go through and still complying to the person who was doing it. So be happy being a square because he got a reward for you on the other side of that. Quit trying to be like the triangle because you don't know what, you think it's bad for the square. The triangle, I told you the circle what? It's doing what? It's rolling down the dirt. Wishing it was a triangle standing up on the curb. It might be hot up there, but you ain't got the dirt and rocks and grass. The ball gets up and it got all kinds of stuff on it. And you worried about being a square. He says this, and as we close, even us, whom he has called, not of the Jews only, but also the Gentiles. Well, the Jews got it good because, well, the Jews went through a lot. Go back and read your history about all the stuff that the Jews went through. I ain't have to wander in the wilderness for 40 years. I know it might sound good that you had manna from heaven, but you know I get tired of eating cereal every morning. I gotta have different flavored cereal. Let alone you give me manna every day. I don't care how good and sweet it is. I have 2 boxes of cereal. I have this box and that box, and I rotate because I want to eat the same cereal every day. Call me bougie. Go ahead. Pastor so bougie. I remember only having cornflakes. That was the only cereal we had was cornflakes. Now I want my sugar smacks. but and Joyce wondered, babe, why you got 2 boxes of cereal open? Just flip and flop. Click and flop. Trey says, flip and flop. So he says, in all of this, and this just speaks to our hearts, and God does things, and it just reminds us that even in life, because we do this in life, that we get to the point where we think we're in control. I'm grown. I'm a grown man. I ain't gonna listen about it. Yeah, you got a boss at work. You got a boss at home. We were watching this comedian. The comedian says, he saw his dad, and he saw my dad was a strong person. But now, whatever my mama said, my dad do. It could be, you don't need that water. You sure right, baby. They say, you don't need that soda, baby. You sure right. Can I get some water? What we gonna eat, baby? Oh yeah, give me the vegetables. And he was like, my dad used to be the first. He says, as he grew up, he just realized his dad was just listening. We all have to listen to somebody. We don't have this persona that we can even question God. And even as it's the most difficult times in life, you can question God, but don't act like God's going to have to respond. It doesn't bother him. But if God don't respond to you today, don't feel like, well, I'm quitting you, God, because you should. You know what I did for you? You know I prayed to you? No. God, thank you for giving me the breath to pray. Lord, thank you for giving me the mouth to pray. God, thank you for giving me the mouth. I think that day it hit me, and I was just, the whole prayer was, God, thank you for this. Thank you for this. I know Josh was trying to think, it was saying, baby, I do want to go to bed sometime, and I quit thanking him for everything. And I thought about some other stuff, start thinking of some more. She said, I knew I should have went first tonight. But you start thinking about, God, thank you for the lights and the cars and the gas and the shoes and the shirts and the tie and all this, the toothpaste and the deodorant. God, why do you think? Because I want him to realize that everything that I have, everything that I'm using, everything that I walk on, thank you. From the time I get up to, Lord, thank you for all those things. I started remembering, I forgot to think about this and this and this and this. If you think about all the things that God does for you in the whole day, from the time you get up to the time you go down, everything that you use, everything you think, Lord, thank you for my mind. Thank you for my heart. Thank you for my lungs. Thank you for because realizing if God takes any one of those things away, I'm going to be worse off than I was the day before. But because of his grace that he continues to shower on us, the glory that he has in us, that he does for us, I don't have the audacity, even if he gives me the power to do it. I should never question what he's doing, because what he's done it well. Because I can look back and say, I could have been, I should have been, I would have been, had it not been for his. Now I said I'm preaching again. I turned into a preaching pastor just then. But that passage is so strong about us responding to God in a manner in which that we have the audacity to act as if God owes us something instead of the other way around. That, yes, you can give him a reply, but when you start looking at all this stuff, God can destroy us right now. And not because we have been so good, because even in our goodness, even in our greatness, we fall short of who he is. Because in the midst of us being good and great, there's a whole lot of sin going on. In the midst of our good and great, there's a lot of stuff that we could, not one time to give him glory, it was all about us, and we didn't care about nobody else, because it's about us. So even in all of our goodness and greatness, we still fall short of what he does for us. Amen. That's my little Easter speech through the 24th verse. And we have to me, it's just a reflection of how good God is, how patient he is. And I know we always use the word long suffering. I think that's, even that word in itself is far short of what God does for us. Because we would think long suffering is a period of time that we come out of ourselves. But we are in ourselves daily. And God has to look at us daily and empty us out every day. Some days the tank is full of us unrighteousness, and some days it's half full. But God never holds that against us if we end the right way, asking forgiveness of our sins. And I just, how simple that is. And forgive us of our sins, and we forgive those who sin against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. God has just forgiven us of our sins. To never bring them up again. God, who has the long memory, turns to a short memory for who we are. When I say a short memory, he said it will never be brought up against you again. Wait a minute, Lord, I've done some stuff, and I've done some stuff multiple times that I even struggle with forgiving myself. You have thrown it into the lake of forgetfulness. So when I stand before you in the judgment, you says, well done, thy good and faithful servant. Well, God, you know I did. You did what? What did you do? I kicked Bobby in the neck when he was 6 years old, and I was trying to kill him, but you let him live. But you forgave me for that. Not that Bobby, because I didn't know that Bobby when he was 8. I just met that Bobby about 8 years ago. So he cool. He ain't that other Bobby. Tutu we used to call him. So anyway, y'all. Man, he didn't call him Tutu. Tutu can fix it on any car though. You got a problem, Tutu can fix it. From the front of the back, he can fix every part of the car. Tutu. I bet you right now he's on somebody's car now fixing it right now. But anyway, as we look at this passage, and we'll end this with that, is that God is such a gracious God. And he reminds us that he is the potter and we are the clay. And he can do what he will in our life. But it's at the end, it's always to bring glory to him. And by bringing glory to him, he shares that glory in us. May God bless you and keep you is my prayer. I need your phone number, because I got a new phone.